guys, it's Grizz again. So we just wrapped up Safari Club for this year and we had a great show and we got to meet a lot of you guys. During the course of the show we spoke with, scores of old clients and new clients and just guys off the street and a lot of different people. And the number one thing people want to talk to us about is different calibers, what's with relation to brown bear hunting mostly. So, and I can tell you that over the course of the years that we've done this sort of work, the guides and I and the clients and everything, we've had this conversation a lot, and we've put a lot of thought and research into what makes the best kind of brown bear guns. So basically there's three kinds of brown bear guns, and we're going to show them to you. I brought all three of them today. So there's an offensive style brown bear rifle, which is what you guys are going to want to have when you go on a brown bear hunt with me. It's the gun that's your primary weapon that you're going to go after the brown bear with, and it's going to work from 50 yards to 350 yards. It's a special kind of gun. Then there's a defensive brown bear gun, which is what someone like I would use when I'm tracking brown bears, like a wounded bear, or if we're just in the woods in a thick cover along a salmon stream where we don't know what we're going to be encountering at close range. We want to be ready to defend ourselves. It's not a real good brown bear hunting rifle, but it's a special purpose rifle that's going to be good for close range, dangerous encounters. And then there's a hybrid rifle. Now, hybrid rifle is actually the rifle that most guides use. I'm not saying it's the best rifle, I'm just saying it's the one that most guides use. It's also the rifle that you're going to get recommended if you read the hunting magazines or watch the TV shows. So we're going to show you one of those too. So to recap, there's a offensive, defensive, and then there's a hybrid between the two. So we're going to get the guns out, lay them out, and we're going to go through them one by one and explain them to you. And I'll show you guys what you want and why you want it. Okay guys, so this is the first rifle. This is one of my old rifles that I used to use, and it's been a super good brown bear gun. I've since moved on, but this is representative of what would make a good offensive style gun like you guys are going to want to use on a guided hunt. So the first thing you'll notice is that it's not light. It's pretty heavy. This particular gun's probably like 12 to 14 pounds, I'd say. There's no backup sights. You don't need nor want those in an offensive style hunting rifle. It's got a pretty big scope on it. This one goes up to 14 power. It's got a big lens, so it's a 50mm lens with a 30mm tube. That means you can see when it starts to get dark well. And what you can't see is the crosshairs in it. It's got really heavy duty, substantial crosshairs that you can see well in low light. So that's another thing you want. Caliber wise, well it's all stainless steel too, with a nice fiberglass stock. So it's going to hold its zero and it's not going to rust or rot or shift point of aim or anything like that. Caliber wise, this particular one is a 300 Ultra Mag. And through experience now, this exact gun has shot dozens of brown bears, that have already been shot most of the time. But caliber wise, a 300 Magnum is great. People that think a 300 is inadequate for a brown bear, they haven't shot enough brown bears. They don't know what they're talking about. It's a great caliber. It'll absolutely kill one super cleanly with one shot, any kind of decent hit. And to be honest with you, anything between a 300 Magnum and a 375 H&H, the bear's not going to notice any difference. He can't tell. It's the same gun as far as the bear knows. The difference is the 300 will give you a further point blank range. So the trajectory is real good on it. The energy is plenty substantial, the bullet weight mass is plenty substantial, but the trajectory is better than the bigger caliber, so that's a benefit that the 300 has. There's really no downside to using the 300 in an offensive style rifle. So anyhow, this is the type of rifle you want. You want a heavy gun because you're probably going to be scared. I'm not going to lie. When you get up on a brown bear, you're probably going to be shaking a little bit. And if you've got a big heavy rifle, number one, we're going to have a good rest. But even with a good rest, a light rifle will move. You'll notice the zero drifts around on the target, and that it's harder to aim with. The big heavy rifle is going to be easier to aim with. So that's why we like heavy rifles. This is not maximal heavy either. I consider this rifle minimally heavy. So look at the gun, check it out, and we'll go into calibers in more detail in another video, but that's how this gun's set up, and I would recommend something very similar to this. So let's show the other rifle. Okay guys, now this is another one of my older personal rifles. As you can see, it's pretty well beat up and it's not clean, but it served its purpose well, and I wouldn't hesitate to use this gun in a second now. So this particular rifle, like the 300 Ultra Mag that I showed you, this is another specialty kind of rifle. So this gun specializes in defensive work. This one is for tracking wounded bears, or just moving through bear country on salmon streams, or someplace where you may run into a bear either unexpectedly, or a bear that you know is likely to be mad because he's already been shot. This is not a gun that a sportsman that's hunting brown bears is going to want to use, though you may be recommended something like this. It has a few drawbacks. So the first drawback is there's no scope. Anyone that's on a brown bear hunt in Alaska in an offensive, as a visiting sportsman kind of hunt, is going to want a scope, and they're going to want a big, nice scope. So this one doesn't have a scope, and I've learned from experience that even the 1-power scopes or the red dots or any of that kind of stuff can't compare to just old-fashioned iron sights. This rifle's like grease lightning. You throw the thing up and you put the front sight on what you want to hit, and you pull the trigger, and that's where the bullet goes. So it's super short, but it's kind of heavy, so it swings well and balances good and sucks up some of the recoil. This particular rifle is in .375 Ruger, which is the maximum caliber I recommend for brown bears. And we'll get into the reason why on the next when I show you the next rifle. But this is a gun that your guide is going to have when he tracks a wounded bear, or when he's just with you in the woods, in the thick stuff, taking you to where you might see the bear you're going to shoot. This is not a gun for a sportsman, but I wanted to show it to you because it's one of the 3 sorts of brown bear guns. So take a look at it. It's short gun, .375 Ruger, open sights. Now we'll move on to the hybrid gun, which is the most popular gun. Okay guys, so this is the hybrid rifle. This is another one of my older personal rifles, and this is actually the first rifle that I built for brown bear hunting, and I built this rifle back in the late 20th century. So probably around 1992, 91, something like that. At the time, I was just starting my guide career, and I wanted to have the ultimate brown bear gun. That was my goal. So I read every magazine and every reloading manual and watched every video I could find, and I put it together exactly how the experts said. So what we have here is we have a pre-64 Model 70 Winchester with controlled round feeding, and there's problems with that I'm not going to get into right now. It's got a reasonably long barrel. It's probably a 24-inch barrel. It's got quick release rings on a low power scope so that you can take the scope off, and it has backup iron sights so that you can use it in the bushes, right? Close range stuff. Of course, the scope goes all the way down to 1 power, so you know the iron sights are better, but the idea, I guess, is that in a pinch you can just turn the scope way down. Of course, the scope that goes way down like that doesn't go up very far either. So I think this one tops out at about 5 power, and that's really inadequate for any kind of good, accurate shooting. Can't do it past about 100 yards. It gets kind of sketchy. You can't tell where the bullet hits or even exactly where you're aiming. So anyways, this rifle here is in .416 Remington Magnum, which if I remember right, one of the old nozzle reloading manuals that I read at the time had a write-up about the .416 by a gentleman named Craig Boddington, and he recommended the .416 because he said that the .416 would, it was new at the time, the 416 Remington. In his opinion, the 416 would become the Brown Bear caliber by which all others were compared. And that was compelling to me. I thought that sounded pretty nice, and that's what I wanted. Well, it's not really true, but that's why I went with it. So I used this gun for a number of years, and it was okay. But because I'm trying to make two guns out of one, I'm trying to make an offensive and a defensive rifle when I built it. I didn't really understand that at the time, but that's where it went. I really wound up with a gun that wasn't really good for anything. It wasn't a good offensive gun that you're going to shoot bears, you know, from close to medium range, because it just peters out. After about 200 yards, it's completely done with regards to the optics and the caliber. And then it's kind of big and cumbersome, you know, for a really fast in the brush kind of a gun, even with the scope off. So you kind of, you lose some ground there. So really you kind of make some compromises that don't make for an ideal gun. This is not the kind of gun that you guys as visitors are going to want to use, though this is the kind of gun similar to what you're going to be recommended to use. And you'll talk to me, and one of the things I'm likely to say is, don't bring your elephant rifle on a brown bear hunt. And what I'm meaning by that is I'm meaning this. This is an elephant rifle. And I think that's why it gets recommended, because a lot of people will lump brown bears in with African dangerous game. So they are dangerous game, but they're not African dangerous game. It's a different habitat, different animal. The problem with the caliber is there's no shootability there. It has, I don't even want to say it has firepower. It has power, it has a lot of energy, but it doesn't really have firepower because you can't put any rounds on target because of the recoil. So the gun will kick so hard that your shot to shot time is long. You're lucky to shoot the bear once, and by the time you wrestle the gun back down and get another round in it and fire again, it's usually gone. So, and the killing power of this particular round is actually less than what a 300 to 375 are, for two reasons. Number one, the bullets are too hard. They're too stoutly constructed. And number two, the velocity is too low. So they don't have a lot of, they have good penetration and energy, but they don't really have any tissue destructing ability. So there's no shock effect. Anyway, so there's a number of reasons why I don't like this, and there's a number of reasons why this is not what you want. So go ahead and check this rifle out, and you can rewind it and look at the first rifle. The first rifle is much more like what you want. You're going to want to bring a rifle that's more like for shooting elk across a canyon in the Rockies. That's the kind of gun you want for brown bear hunting as a sportsman, as an offensive gun. So anyway, those are the three sorts of brown bear rifles, and check them out, and we're going to do a little recap now. Hey guys, okay, so that's like the entry level kind of concept of what makes brown bear rifles. There's a whole bunch more to it, and there's different shades of the same sort of weapon. But I just wanted to give you guys just kind of an overall, kind of like a visual of it, you know, because me telling you and me showing you are two different things. So there is a lot more to it. We can get into calibers and all that sort of thing later. But that's going to get you in the right direction. So you've got a good idea of what you really need that's going to work good for the sort of hunts we do. Which reminds me, the sort of hunts we do, if you really want to see what makes a good brown bear rifle, call me up, book a brown bear hunt, we'll talk about the rifle, you'll bring the perfect rifle and we'll put it to test. We'll put it to the test. You use it on a real brown bear and you'll see what I mean. You'll see what we use and you'll be able to use that gun. And like I told you before, we've put a lot of thought into this, and we've seen everything used, and we've used a lot of different things. So I consider us to be experts on this. You know, you're going to get conflicting opinions about it, but this is solid stuff. It's real world stuff that we've seen that works really well in real field conditions for decades now. We've been doing this for a long time. We've been doing this since the last century. So anyway, shoot us an email, give Jana a call, we'll set you up. Talk to you later. Thanks.